So far, this comic is either one of two things, occasionally both. It's either boring or frustrating, and the reason why it is took me a little bit to find out, but after backtracking and reading some parts of the comic over again, I think I understand why now. Reading further and further, I realize this comic basically doesn't have a conflict? Oh, okay, I get it does have a conflict. Mandy is straight up a walking conflict. And on top of that, the teenage type novels don't generally have massive overarching narrative plots. And also on top of that, there is a conflict, but it literally doesn't happen until like the last 25 pages of the comic. But what I'm trying to say is that there's no focus. Yeah, that's it. There's no real focus. You're kind of just watching a character go through the motions and are expected to care. That would automatically categorize this as a slice of life comic, right? Because if that's the case, then it's no wonder that this stuff starts off at boring and only gets more hateable from there. You see, the slice of life genre revolves around two very important things. One, well-written, likable characters, and two, good relationships and dialogue between those characters. And also an actual focus, so, you know, it's not just a weird compilation of random flashback scenes and monologues slapped on top of them awkwardly, which is like 95% of this comic, but never mind that. We already know that this comic doesn't have likable characters and relationships, but it goes a little bit deeper when it's a YA comic. This one in particular. YA visual novels have the ability to revolve around many different things, but the way the narrative is made in this piece of work strictly designs any potential story beats, dialogue, and so on to mandatorily revolve around Mandy's perspective on everything, her monologues, her relationships, and all. And by extension, that would clearly indicate that you, and all the other readers, are expected to get behind this protagonist in some way. Right off the bat, that's gonna be impossible because of the context of knowing that Mandy is just the author's mouthpiece. But I want to do something interesting in attempts to dive deeper into the horrendous flaws of this work. In part 3 of my epic analysis series, we're going to pretend, just for a second, that we don't know that Mandy is a self-insert. We're going to see the way she acts while detached from that knowledge, and the reason why is to prove a point. You see, I originally thought that Mandy was supposed to be like a poster child for the embarrassing teen phase that we all go through, but I'm gonna show you guys that Mandy is not that. She's not how we all used to think we were back in our teen phase. She's just a douche. And it's difficult to tell whether her douchiness is something you're supposed to get behind or be annoyed by. Let's get started. By the way, I'm skipping through many scenes to get to the point right now because, let's be honest, nothing in this comic matters save the beginning and the ending. You see, this comic is basically the equivalent of a Twinkie bar or an oatmeal cream pie. Everything in the middle is all just fluff. It's all filler. Only in this situation, you replace that cream in the middle with fecal matter and used blood-stained band-aids that came from the self-inflicted wounds of an emotionally unstable teen. I digress. It was just another day of school, and today, Mandy's globulous ass must participate in a good old game of sports. Baseball to be specific. During this game, the only thing on her mind is love interest girl. Her name is Claire, but honestly, who cares? She's so devoid of an actual personality that her name does not matter. During the ball game, she contemplates and describes her exactly as what I described her to be a second ago. Let me quote Mandy's words here on page 50. I really just can't imagine being someone like Claire. Like, being the sort of person who could never mess anything up. Claire is a popular girl who's always going to be that way. She is still talking in choppy ass sentences. Why, man? Like, you see what I'm talking about? Mandy doesn't even talk about her personality or her interests or anything. It's almost amazing how Tamaki thought that it'd be cool to have a character describe another character like that. This girl is a blank checklist with only a few things that barely qualify as an identity. Popular, seemingly perfect, and the walking goalpost that the MC must have. I guess some teenagers will be able to relate to that, but what happens next is pretty much impossible to relate to unless you're on the same level of douchebag as Mandy. Because, well, after that page, Mandy mentally tunes back into reality and a ball is coming her way that she needs to catch in the middle of the game. She very clearly sees the ball coming right at her. She stares at it blankly, and she says, "Look, I just can't pretend to like Jim, okay?" Mandy intentionally ignores the ball and lets it drop. She afterwards walks away, suddenly ending the baseball match for whatever reason, while folks are complaining and cursing her the hell out. Why did she do this? Well, there's really no good reason, but she does say in thought, "I don't even really know what I am. At least I'm not trying to be something I'm not." Wow. Wow. You intentionally ruined a game for other people because you want to make sure you're not being someone that you're not. Wow, that's really deep and thought-provoking. Amazing writing skills you got there. F***ing amazing writing skills, man. Just amazing. You see, look at that! That's not the actions of a misunderstood, rebellious teen that you can relate to. That's just a f***ing asshole move. Look, I know this is a totally subjective situation. I know that there's someone out there that's going to be able to relate to this, but my point is, while the average hormone-enraged teen does make mistakes and they can do dumb stuff without thinking about it, the average teen definitely also doesn't act like an asswipe to random people for no reason. You know, aside from maybe the cheap excuse of, "Yeah, well, I'm not like most other girls, so I'm gonna be a douche, lol." Like, this shit is unbearable to read. Like, there's no logical reason for her doing this at all. She just straight up makes a dickhead move for no good reason. I thought that this scene was just going to play out like she couldn't catch the ball because she was lost in thought because she was daydreaming about the love interest girl. That easily could have been written into the scene, but Tamaki is heavily insistent on making her seem like the biggest smoker possible. And maybe if this girl didn't have so much presence across the story, her cancerous personality wouldn't be so unbearable. But once again, this entire comic revolves all around her own perspective and thoughts. So every page turn, you just get more and more sick of seeing this pig animal's f***ing face. This entire scene here is seemingly designed to show off that she's an unlikable person. So, like I said in the last part, she's intentionally supposed to be a character you're not supposed to root for. Right? Well, also something I said in the last part, later into the comic, there are many moments that completely contradict that, especially the ending. For everyone that's already finished the comic, you already know what the hell I'm talking about. It makes no f***ing sense! It makes 0 sense! But let me not get carried away, okay? Let me jump ahead in the story a little bit to show you how Mandy's relationship subplot is going. A few days past that, starting at about page 74, and Mandy and her special friend have a moment to hit it off. Once again, for some weird-ass reason, love interest girl has a fixation on Mandy despite actively watching her be a jackass to people around her. She was there watching when Mandy intentionally snubbed that baseball game she was in. So why the hell would she still be interested in this pig animal when everyone else is pissed at her naturally? Like, honest to God, it's legit creepy how this story makes the girl just warm up to her, despite knowing how toxic of a person she is. And it's even more creepy how we're expected to totally get behind her paper-thin ass affection. Like, I haven't shown you guys in the comic pages, but this girl, like, submits to her in a weird way. Like, there's this one moment I haven't talked about, like, Mandy hates love interest girl's friends, but, they haven't really done anything to make themselves seem like douchebags. They kind of just do basic high schooler stuff like talk about mundane nonsense. And that's not really a reason to hate someone. And yet, well, love interest girl kind of just submits to her and is like, "Yeah, my friends are douchebags, I'm really sorry." Even though Mandy's the real douchebag here. Like, that shit's kind of creepy, don't you think? How this love interest girl is just automatically siding with Mandy on everything, even though the only person so far that's really been acting like a jackass is her? Look, I don't know about you guys, but there's something uncomfortable about that. There's something unsettling about a self-insert fantasy about an unlikable douchebag rebel teenager with a horrible personality easily having a love interest that always hovers around her, is always submitting to her, always agreeing with her. If this was a guy who wrote this shit and not a girl, I'm sure everyone would be pointing that part out easily. But hey, it's a chick who's the self-insert character, so whatever, I guess. Double standards it is then, I guess we're not gonna care. care because it's a girl who's doing the weird, creepy relationship stuff. Anyway, Claire comes over her house and they go to chill and do schoolwork and bond. They don't have too much dialogue to exchange in their little meetup, but the next pages are a compilation of the pair having a great time together. Also, there's a whole page dedicated to her liking another girl in the past back when she was younger, but I'm glossing over it now because it's just another garbage excuse to make you go, oh man, Starfire sucks, screw her, because you know, they gotta make Starfire seem like she's relevant to the story in random parts, but she's really not at all. You could take Starfire out of the story and replace it with any other superhero. Nothing would change. Anyway, the night falls and love interest girl needs to go home. Before she does though, she gives Mandy a big ol' hug. Because you know, this personality-free girl has a fetish for self-entitled douchebags. There is an entire page dedicated to the happiness Mandy feels from her warm embrace. And she seems genuinely happy. You know, even though she does not deserve it in any way. So there you go. You see this? This clearly shows that you're supposed to care about this shallow relationship that she's trying to build. This scene would not be drawn and written this way if otherwise. This scene would not be... there wouldn't be so many pages dedicated to her feelings growing if otherwise. So yeah, you're supposed to root for her now suddenly. But again, why in the hell would I or anyone root for someone who's been nothing but a selfish cuck for the past 70 pages? The fact that Mandy acts like a douche and at the same time you're expected to care about getting what she wants, well, the only logical explanation to gather from that jumbled mess of writing is that Tamaki really made this girl thinking she was going to be relatable. And... oh boy, there's a lot to unpack there. Like, too much. Oh, and fun fact, I haven't even gotten to the worst part of this weird love subplot. The stupidity gets even worse as this progresses. Mandy has like a dumbass falling out with a girl because she took a selfie with the Titans, which is the dumbest fucking reason to be mad at somebody over, but I won't say anything else past that. I'm gonna save the ending of this subplot for another video. Like, the many flaws of this comic actually rack my brain, so if it seems like I'm talking in circles, I'm sorry, okay? I really am. Let me stay on topic. Let me stay on the primary subject of this video. And the primary topic is this. Mandy is a and at the same time, you're supposed to relate to her. Now, reading up to this point, I'm pretty sure that the issue that's going on right now with this writing is very common amongst fanfictions that you see on Wattpad. And the foundational issue, the primary issue, is that the writer wrote this garbage while living in their own little bubble, you know what I mean? They made up a story in their own little echo chamber where they can do nothing wrong, that they are never wrong, they are always right, every single aspect of themselves, every single idiotic opinion of theirs, and every single horrible personality trait of theirs is a good thing. There is no negatives about them in any way, shape, or form. They build stories revolving around their own little fantasy world of superiority and perfection, while not having any self-awareness of their own repulsiveness. And when it gets publicized, we, the readers, are subjected to the writer's unbearable personality, sprinkled into their awful story. Mariko Tamaki seriously made this shit thinking that we were gonna look at this garbage and be like, oh man, that is so me when I was younger. And I'm sitting here staring at this shit like, no it's not? The fact that Tamaki wrote this bile thinking that readers would instantly relate to this girl just shows off how f***ed up in the head she is. Again, I know the situation is totally subjective, but I'm speaking for the average person, not everyone in existence, okay? The only type of person that could potentially relate to this main character, and by default, the only type of person that could enjoy this comic, is a person that is equally as much as an asshole as Mandy is, only totally unironically in real life. And Jesus Christ, can you imagine, like, meeting someone like Mandy in real life? I've heard some people say that they had a friend like them in the YouTube comments, but I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm going off topic. Long story short, Mandy is a She's a douche. She's an unlikable, unbearable douche. The only way this a-hole of a character could possibly be tolerable is if the character was growing or learning to become a better person as the story progresses. But, spoiler alert, that doesn't happen at all. What exactly does happen, you ask? Well, stay tuned for the next entry into the review series and find out. We're at about page 84 now. We're officially halfway through this comic after doing a little bit of skipping around. But get ready, we're about to do some minor backtracking to pick apart a few of the important details there are. We're going to do an in-depth discussion on Starfire's completely butchered character in this comic. To be continued in part 4. And don't forget, you should be giving me money on Patreon. Our current $10 donors are Duke Dragon Hearthfire the 10th, Ellamations, and Procrastinator Dave. And let's not forget our $5 donors. Give me a second. Ayan, Dragonlight Z, Stormy Knight, Travis, and Wes Franklin. If you'd like to be in the credits of my videos as well, just catch me on patreon.com/blacklightjack. Thanks for watching, everybody.